All right. So on this episode of Empowering Her, we have Laura. Laura, I'm so happy to have you on today. And so, why don't you start by giving us a little bit about your background and kind of the role that you are in today?
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for having me. I'm excited to tell my story, I think. So, I started my career at Microsoft doing an internship, and then I basically went on from there and joined a series of startups. So, I'm now on my sixth startup. I've done things from very, very technical roles. I was head of infrastructure at one point. Then I did enterprise sales. Then I kind of fell into customer success. And now I'm director of customer success at another startup, a global startup. So been pretty wild. But yeah, I think I've always just really loved helping people, and so now I can help customers and help my team too.
So that's a pretty wild ride. So you've had a lot of different kind of leadership roles. Um, let's circle back to the internship you had, because I know that I have some students that are asking about how they would get an internship. So how were you able to land your internship?
It's a great question because I applied for 46 internships before I actually landed one. And at the time I landed the one at Microsoft, I had three offers from very, very different businesses. But I'd had like, yeah, I think it was 46 rejections up until that point. And so, yeah, it was starting to really get to me by that point. I was like, why am I not like landing one of these roles? And so I did slightly pivot a little bit when I landed the Microsoft one, and I started doing more of a storytelling CV. So my CV initially was like probably really boring. I've probably got a copy of it somewhere. But then I decided to do more of like, let's tell my story. I'd done some cool-ish things, but I was like 19. So my CV was just not that great at the time. And so I started trying to pick out like really rare events that I'd done up until that point. And then yeah, ultimately ended up getting the one at Microsoft. I think at the time I got an offer from for another company, but I think what I really loved was that it was a technology company, and that was like my CV was very tailored to like all of the technology things I'd done around that time in my life. So I think that's ultimately what had done it. And in the interview, I think the interviewer who became my manager was like, I think she took a pretty big punt on me, and I'm really like obviously super grateful for that. But yeah, just trying to set yourself apart from the thousands of other people who are likely applying for that internship, I think is probably what did it.
I didn't realize that internships could be that competitive, and that's pretty. Like Microsoft is a huge company, and they are probably pretty picky about who they would take on as an intern. So I mean, I think that's a testament to you that you were able to land that role at Microsoft. So let's talk about let's break down your day to day as a director of customer success. What does your day to day look like, and what are kind of maybe some of the weekly activities that you have?
Yeah, good question. So, my day, oh my God, it varies massively. So, I do a lot of interviews with customers to just understand like how they're using the product, are they getting the most out of it? And I try to aim for 10 a month. So, just chatting with 10 different people, whether they're happy, unhappy, somewhere in the middle, and just really try and glean those insights. And then I do a lot of cross collaboration. So, my day to day, I've worked with someone from the marketing team trying to tell those stories back to our potential prospects. I've worked with the sales team to understand what deals are coming in, how can I distribute my team effectively, one to ones with the team, and find out what they're up to and what challenges they have. A recent one, definitely a huge recent learning for me, is our platform helps with strategy execution. So I needed to know about strategy. So I often do a lot of like that learning and research. And then I also set the strategy for the following year as well. So it's a little bit all over the place. But I would say the biggest theme is like collaboration, just speaking with a lot of different teams and a lot of different people, and just trying to like optimize and improve every part of our offering essentially.
So let's break down that because I love strategy execution. It sounds really cool, but I know that I'm going to have some students that are like, "What does that mean?" So, what is strategy execution?
So taking a step back a little bit, over the years, strategy has become this very much a thing that's only for the boardroom. It's only for really super smart people who have three masters or three PhDs and they sit in a room together and they're the only people who know about strategy. What we're trying to do is completely democratize that, take it out of the boardroom and enable everybody to know what strategy is. So in its simplest form, strategy execution is, what are you trying to achieve? So your objectives. How are you going to get there? So your projects and your kind of daily tasks. And then how are you going to measure success? So your KPIs or measures. Throughout the industry or throughout different companies, there's so much terminology for each of those. You've got initiatives, projects, milestones, you've got KPIs, key results, measures. And then, but essentially, it all means the same thing. It's, where are we heading? How are we going to get there? And then how are we going to ultimately measure success? And so my team is responsible for taking all of that and the real complexities of the strategy that a company has, and then helping teams to actually go and execute it. And the biggest thing that I say quite a lot is, teams are working on their business as usual. They're doing things in their day to day, and then the company has a strategy. But quite often the two don't meet in the middle. And that's ultimately what strategy execution is getting everybody part of that mission and bringing everybody on that journey.
Very, very cool. And I think that we would all agree that that is something that we everybody utilizes, as far as whether it's I've got to get this homework done, whether I've got to make X amount of calls in this week, that strategy execution. I'm going to start using that in my classroom from now on.
Well, I love taking it to the personal. Like last year, I had a goal. My goal was to feel better about myself, and how I got there is like I got a personal trainer, and I ate better, and I measured it through like the scales or whatever. But like it is part of our everyday. We all have goals. It's just kind of like how we get there, and yeah, it shouldn't be as complicated as people make out it should be. It is for everybody.
Absolutely. So, for the role that you're in, that director of customer success, or even a customer success role, is a college degree required?
Absolutely not. I could not tell you if any of my team have a degree. I actually think some of them may have degrees in very random topics. I think, if I'm now thinking back, but for me personally, I don't think so. And I think the reason why is because I don't. And my family are very academic. My mum is a lecturer. She's a researcher. Her husband is a senior lecturer. Like it's in our blood to be academic. So for me, I felt like I had to go to university. And so I found a degree that blended the things that I loved, which was business and then technology. So I did business information systems, and I liked it. But for me, I felt like it was quite slow paced, and I could go from one lecture on, how business works, and then I could go into networking. It was super diverse, and I really loved it for that. But as soon as I landed my internship, which was my third year of four, I loved the real world. I loved that like you could apply things and it moved super fast. So for me, I made the decision to not go back to university. And I remember at the time people being like, oh, you can't possibly do that. Like, this is going to hurt you for the rest of your life. And it hasn't. No one has ever asked me about my degree because I can go with these real life examples of challenges and things that I've faced. And yeah, it just honestly doesn't even come up when I'm interviewing. I don't think it defines who you are or what real life means to you. That being said, there are obviously topics where you do need that theory. And I did recently go back to university to do a course on Lean Six Sigma because I was in a lean role at the time. It was super relevant for that. But again, I then applied it to real life and learned a lot through that process as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting at this at one point it was having a college degree, and I'll be the first one to say that if you want to be in a role, if you want to be a nurse, if you want to be an architect, a teacher, that's absolutely necessary. But now we're getting to the point where they're even arguing whether you should even put your degree on your resume or not, and I'm seeing a huge shift in either there are people in these high level roles that either have no college degree or they have a college degree, but it's in a totally unrelated field that they're not even working in.
Mm. Yeah, and it's interesting because I would say up until about a year ago, I was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to complete my degree, but I'm going to convert it into a master's. And I found that I could do a master's through like the real world stuff that I've been doing for the last few years. But then Actually, probably what I've learned more so recently is I got a few mentors on different topics and just had that time with people to like debate different ideas, and I found that so valuable. And in the last year, I feel like I've gone from, you know, from strength to strength and grown in so many areas just by having a bit more of that open dialogue. So that's been really interesting, and something that I always recommend. Everybody should have a coach for something.
So if I have a student that's watching this and they're like, I really like what Laura is doing, and I would like to work up to where she's at. What would that stepping stone look like? What would be that entry level of the customer success, and then working up to the director? And then are there roles even above that director position?
Yeah, I think for sure I would get as much experience in, well, certainly for me, I'm in the tech startup world of which there are obviously hundreds of them being created every day. I think getting an understanding of kind of just customers in general, and it could take a bit of a technical landscape. So you might want to go down like a bit of the technical route and understand how integrations work, or it could be more on the business side. So understanding how businesses go about setting their strategies, or how businesses, you know, work really efficiently together. For me, they're like kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum, but both of those skill sets help you towards understanding a customer and then helping to problem solve with a customer. And I think that's the perfect blend for customer success. We actually don't really actively recruit people with a customer success background into my team. They could be from a kind of customer service or a technical role, or even a business analyst inside a large organization. It's that real business acumen understanding that's really hard to teach. You have to live it. Everything else can be taught. You can be taught how to treat a customer, or how to, you know, write emails, or whatever. Um, in terms of the career path, you can absolutely get like an entry level role. Again, like I said, bit of a grounding of business acumen, bit of customer service, and then work up to kind of how to do objection handling, how to you know, prioritize projects or project manage like an onboarding process. And then from a like I'm quite a new leader. I've always been in leadership roles, but I'm definitely a new leader in terms of managing a global team to manage all of our customers. It's very, very new for me. And like I said, getting a good mentor who was that kind of step up for me has been very transformational. For me, my next aim is to kind of move into, I would say, more of like that VP of customer success. I'm kind of already doing it, but then taking that step away. Like I still work with customers daily, and I want to move away from that, but then enabling like the team beneath me. And then from there, it's probably chief customer officer. I'm sat on the board. I'm doing the decision making about everything to do with our customer. That's my goal.
Okay, so then you're almost like the customer success of the customer success people. The coaching position, which I think is really important. You get the people that are very successful in it, and then then they coach those, because there definitely is the value in the experience. And
It's
so to kind of to further that, so might the stepping stone look like customer success associate, then the manager, then I guess then the director, and then the VP, and I think chief of people is like a super cool sounding title.
Yeah, and it takes many forms. Like I've been at a few businesses where we had like that associate level, we had a customer success manager, we had like a lead, we had more of a technical CSM, we had like more of like that enterprise level. So you have a smaller portfolio of customers, but like the big chunky, it's
Right.
a whole different game to play. And so that can be like your stepping stone, is like dealing with a lot of small customers and then making that jump to enterprise.
Okay, so let's talk salary now, because that's always a big question that the kids always have. Well, how much do they make? So, and I know it. You're in a startup, so startups can look different than like big established companies. But if we could get a general figure between maybe what the entry level salary would look like, all the way up to like just at the creme de la creme, the top of what might that salary range look like?
Oh, good question. I'm thinking somewhere like an entry level, you probably in US dollars,
Yes.
probably like around the 35 to 40. US, I'm saying, like, probably with with a couple of years experience, maybe a little bit less. Obviously, it depends where you're located. Up the top end, like, yeah, definitely talking six figures, 100K plus. Um, I've worked at a couple of different businesses and the model's always a little bit different. I would say with customer success, your base salary is often a little bit higher than maybe some other roles because you don't really have like that commission element. Um, Something I always tell people, and I've done a little bit of salary coaching in the past, is I always ask for at least 10 grand more than you actually want to make because you will always get negotiated down. So that's always like my tip. And I've had a few, especially women in the past go, oh, I'll just ask for five. And I'm like, ask for the 10, ask for 15, ask for 20 if you want, but just do not make it that five. So I always find that really fascinating. Like we massively undervalue ourselves a lot of the time. But customer success is like, you want to join a business where they really put customer success at the forefront. Like they're adopting the customer success model really early in their journey, because then it shows that they take the customers seriously, and you want to be, hopefully want to be part of that journey and not customer success is like the afterthought. So those kind of companies often will pay more. And it's one of those like hugely sought after roles right now. I can't remember how many there are on LinkedIn. I did look recently, but there are so many open roles for customer success because it's like every business is like, oh, we need to look after our customers. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I think customer success is kind of a newer role, and so companies are still kind of trying to figure it out. But I think, I kind of laugh at, I see the disconnect where marketing and sales are always fighting amongst each other and stuff, and then nobody picks on customer success, but nobody really talks about customer success. And one of the things I talked about is it's the customer experience that is. I mean, if you don't have
Mr. Ball, if you're in the building, please meet in Miss Moore's room. Thank you.
day at the school, uh, it's without customers, then you have no business, and so it's really within that sales, marketing, and customer success. So I always go, why don't all three of those departments meet together? Because it's really that those are the three that drive that customer experience. But
Yeah.
again, that's an argument for a whole nother a whole nother day.
Yeah.
Um, I like what because you've alluded to mentors numerous times, and that's one of the things I really like to talk about on this video series is mentors. And so tell me your thoughts on mentors, because I think that there's this thought of a mentor as somebody that's kind of high and lofty and kind of more of a formal setting. But in your opinion, what is mentorship, and what is the best way to go about finding mentors?
Yeah. I think for me, I've been a mentor and a mentee before, and I think you actually get an equal thing out of it, but on both sides. So being a mentee, obviously, you would feel like you'd get a lot of value, but as a mentor, you get a lot of value too because you revalidate a lot of the things that you're saying. For me, I think I would always be looking for somebody not necessarily more senior than me or not necessarily more established than me, but someone who's empathetic and maybe lived quite a lot of different scenarios. So I wouldn't want to just be mentored by someone who's gone from this to this to this to this and that's it. It's someone who's maybe been challenged and maybe even gone up and down in their career too, because I think that gives you a lot of different angles to look at of where they've been. Um, there's quite a few companies that I follow, especially like technology businesses who just have like a bit of a side function where that their teams offer mentorship. It's a great way to build your personal brand. So I definitely have seen that in the last year or two as popping up. But yeah, simply kind of just networking on LinkedIn. It can be a great place to go. I can see you're connected with three people at this company. Is there anyone you could recommend? So doing something like that, or even like it's quite funny, but sometimes I mentor like some friends, like just in my personal network, I'll talk about a unique scenario and we'll do a bit of mentorship. It's not formal in any sense. All I tend to do is have a theme. So will always recommend that the person being mentored come with a theme. Like I said, it could be salary negotiations, could be one theme of the week to talk about, but having something to anchor to is a really good thing.
That's beautiful. And kind of one last question about this. What is the best way to go about getting somebody to agree to mentor you? Because if I approach you and you don't know me, I go, "Hey, Laura, will you mentor me?" You're going to be like, "I don't know you." Like, so do we throw like a compliment sandwich? What's the best way to approach somebody about actually like doing mentorship?
I would think about your why. Like what it like yeah, what is your strategy? Like what is your goal of being mentored? Like is it to get better at something? Is it something really unique? Like I mentioned, I helped someone negotiate their salary. They were on incredibly low salary and they said, I really like what you're doing. Do you think is this an area you could help me with? And I was like, absolutely yes. I've had and that was like a one-off. I've had other instances where people have said, can you help me with this? And I've gone, actually, I'm not, that's not my strong point. That's like, one of my flawed areas. Maybe this person could help. So definitely having your why and going to them and saying, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Would you be a good fit? And like, what is the commitment? That's the other thing is like, ask them, can they do 30 minutes every week, every month? What's the commitment look like?
Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, so here is the hot seat question for you. Knowing what you know now, if you could go back and give yourself advice when you were in middle school and high school, and this doesn't have to be career or profession or even education related, uh, what would that advice be?
Oh, good question.
This is the one I like because this is where I really I learn a lot and it like really man, I don't know because there's so much that we could share through our experiences, but you're like, man, I just what was that one thing I would tell myself?
I would probably say, and this is a fairly recent thing for me, I would say go and learn how to be more resilient. Like I would say resilience has got me a really long way, has helped me along the way of challenges, certain things that have happened in my career and my personal life. But ultimately, I would put me getting through those things because I've built a lot of resilience and I wish I'd learned it earlier. It's something I only learned in the past couple of years. If I'd had that a bit earlier in my life, I think it would have massively helped. And there's so many books and great podcasts that you can listen to about resilience. But it's one of the things that I always hear when I love listening to podcasts about athletes and sports people, and it's the one thing that they always talk about is that they're incredibly resilient to challenges that they face. And so I always think of that as being like the one thing I wish I knew earlier.
I love that. That's beautiful. And as we get older, we have to get thicker skin. I was kind of laughing the other day. I was there's we have a neighbor, and their daughter does a lemonade stand, and she offers to walk dogs and pick up trash and stuff. And it's they haven't told her she does it because she doesn't think nobody said that you can't do that. But then I was thinking, man, if I went to go set up a lemonade stand on the corner, they'd be like, Josh, get like what you can't do that. Get off. They get off the corner. Well, Laura, I can't thank you enough for coming on this episode and just sharing your experience and your wisdom and the knowledge that you've accumulated. And yeah, I just thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anytime.
And we'll chat very, very soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.